Yeah,
Okay,
thank you
thank
for
you.
joining the Oregon Presidential Nominating Convention. Today, we are reviewing the presidential candidates in our annual convention, and we will start with the honor of the land that we are occupying and thank the ancestors for their guidance. Amy, if you could take that away.
All right. Good morning, everyone. We participate at this convention of the Pacific Green Party, recognize and honor the indigenous people of this region on whose ancestral lands we now stand. These include the Willamette, Tumwater, Tillamook, and Siletz, Clackamas, Clatskanie, Multnomah, and Wallala Chinook peoples, the Tualatin, and Kalapuya, Umpqua, Molalla, Rogue River, Shasta, who are today part of the Confederated Tribes of Grand Ronde, Klamath, North Paiute, Athabascans, Coos, Siuslaw, and the many other native communities who make their homes along the Columbia River and its tributaries. We also recognize that this land was taken away by violence and that exploitation and injustice persists. 1, in the system of laws and government. 2, in the influence of big money and an antiquated electoral system. And 3, in latent attitudes and prejudices against historically marginalized and oppressed people. Many of these persist in behaviors that people historically in power may not be aware of, latent inherited patterns of thought and action that ignore, diminish, or trivialize the contributions of Indigenous, women, BIPOC, and other marginalized and/or oppressed people. We hereby commit to listening with intention and openness, to value the participation of historically oppressed communities. We acknowledge that all marginalized voices and oral traditions have their unique wisdom to help solve the problems we face. It is therefore our intention to restore and work both within the community and within ourselves to recognize those attitudes, working collaboratively to restore balance on earth and amongst ourselves. We will not cast aside or minimize those voices when they point to latent discrimination. We respectfully acknowledge and honor all Indigenous communities, past, present, future, and are grateful for their ongoing and vibrant presence. We also thank the ancestors, spirit, God, or simple kindness for their guidance in ensuring that our thoughts and intentions during this meeting reflect mutual respect and compassion. Thank you.
Thank you, Amy. Now we will have Nathalie read the statement of our principles.
Black eye. So, yeah, just a quick update. The students broke encampment this week after being out there for 3 weeks. The first week was like they were out there in heavy rain. They endured some pretty rough weather conditions out there. So they really, a lot of respect goes out to these students. As soon as they started their encampment, a lot of us, I'm a staff member at the University of Oregon. A lot of faculty and staff quickly rallied. They started with just a few of us, went to 12. It grew to over 100 faculty and staff who all started writing letters, responses to the administration, and when they would issue public statements, all of which were pretty terrible, in our opinion. So all of this is to say a few takeaways. And I'm sorry I don't have a better presentation prepared for all of you, just because we've been in reactive mode, taking everything day by day. And currently, to be quite frank, the University of Oregon is currently trying to terminate me for my involvement. I'm currently on paid administrative leave as of Tuesday of this week. I haven't been in the office all week. So just to give you some context of where I'm coming from. So I'm kind of trying to fight to keep my job. Fortunately, we have a lot of really brilliant faculty involved, including law faculty. But getting back to a few of my takeaways, I think what's key here in this student-led movement was, one, the encampment effort was a student-led movement. And as faculty and staff, we always made sure to respect that. We didn't try to insert ourselves or force our opinions on what they should be doing. We viewed our role as a supportive role. And I think that was just a good tactical move, and it built a lot of trust between students and faculty and staff. Another point of contention, though, was the difference between community activists and the encampment. And then what you may have heard at Portland State was maybe not everyone that was involved in that action was a student. I think some of the fear there was that, this term outside agitator can ruffle a lot of feathers. It's used to sort of, in my opinion, delegitimize movements. But this isn't to say that we don't care about or respect all the activists in the community as well. It's just that we didn't want give the university any excuse to dismiss the students' legitimate concerns and try to attribute those to maybe outside actors. So I think that was a smart tactical move. I think also a smart tactical move at Oregon was that there was virtually no damage done to any property there. Again, just not giving the university any ammo in sort of the PR war. Where they're going to want to paint the protesters as like violent or, unreasonable. And so I think the students at the University of Oregon were very smart not to give that to them. And I'm sure I could talk about this for a long time. I'm sure you don't want me to go on for hours here. We have only a limited amount of time here at the convention, but that's sort of the quick update. There's definitely considerations when all this happens, like I said, between faculty, staff, students, community, but I think we have to respect who initiates an action. And generally speaking, as a party and as people, activists, all of us here who care about these issues and want to help, I think we have to respect who the organizers are. And if we don't agree with those methods, then you're perfectly entitled to step away. But I don't think it's appropriate to sort of impose our views on anyone else's actions. We can start our own actions if we feel like we have better ideas of how we want to go about things. But yeah, it was a lot of good will, I think, built. A lot of trust was sort of won. I took Green Party water jugs down there to keep people hydrated when the weather starts getting warmer. I think it's always a smart move to just be good allies to folks that are out there fighting the fight, because that's why we're all here to begin with, is because we're all here to just, push along those policies and changes that we all sort of care about. I don't know if you want to have any Q&A time or anything like that, but again, sorry that my thoughts aren't super well organized. It's just been a chaotic 3 weeks and currently trying to not get fired.
Thank you, Justin. If anyone does have a question for Justin or any questions involving the UO encampment, please do put those in the chat and we will make sure those get answered. Nathalie will now do the panel with the current Greens in elected office.
Can we please make sure that the panelists are, that the elected officers are panelists and okay. The hosts of the meeting, can you please make sure that our panel are invited?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. So I'm going to, if you're a panelist, Josiah, you're going to have to, you will have to rejoin as a panelist, okay? And okay, let me just go. I'm trying to promote all of the speakers as panelists. Would you mind introducing yourself, Josiah, as I find the other panelists and invite them to go on? Thank you.
Wonderful, wonderful. Thank you so much, Nathalie. Hello, everyone. My name is Josiah Dean. My wife and I own the historic Balch Hotel. We're out in a little town called Dufur. We're about 15 minutes south of the Dalles, Oregon. I like to say we're on the frontier of the progressive Portland world and rural Eastern Oregon. So we bought the hotel not because it was in a political situation, but it's a beautiful place that I've enjoyed running for the last 9 years. I've been a Green Party member since Al Gore took too many steps to the right, and I just couldn't support him anymore. So from that basis, I've just been a Green Party, switched a little bit to vote for Bernie, but then back to Green after they shut him out. So my kind of political world is kind of interesting. We're a small town of about 600 folks. And a few years back, one of my neighbors said there was an opening on city council and asked if I was interested. And I said, sure, whatever. I don't, he's like, oh, it's 1 week, it's a couple hours every month and no big deal. And so that started my political career. The first election came up, I was a write-in candidate, got 12 votes and got elected. And so I've been reelected once. We're coming up on another election year. And so we'll see if anybody goes against me. So yeah, so my kind of philosophy, and I think, some of the previous speakers have touched on that, is just my philosophy is just show up and do good work and let my actions speak for themselves. So, as a small town city councilor, we're not changing the world. We don't affect foreign policy, right? Things that we do is we're getting a new sewer system put in. Not, poop ponds are not that exciting, but that is what we work on for sure. And so, yeah, that's what I'm doing. Establishing, again, showing folks that us crazy hippies can actually get things done and work together with folks that have a little bit different opinion. So that's my 2 cents. So the takeaway is just get involved wherever you can. If there's a town festival, volunteer on that. Again, being a business person in the town helps me with some credibility. So that's all I got.
Yeah, I'm trying to promote the other ones, but I cannot recognize Michael Sundliner. What is the name? What name are you on in the Zoom talk? Because I cannot see your last name. Are you listed just as Michael?
If anybody wants to drop a question into the chat or in the Q&A, I'm happy to help while we're working on technical difficulties or
Yes,
Nathalie, would you like me to go while you're working with on Michael?
Alex.
Please go ahead, Alex.
Okay. So my name's Alex Polikoff. Been a Green since probably 06. So I ran for Congress against Kurt Schrader in 2008, and then I ran for House District 23. Let's see, I think 3 times. Unsuccessful, but I think I usually got between 4 and 6% of the vote in my House district runs. So I'm currently on the board for the Corrales Rural Fire Protection District, and I've been a board member. This will be the end of my 3rd term. I've been a board member since 2013. I would say, my experience, the first thing I ever ran for was Congress, and that was quite an eye-opener. But I've always told people that, I think everybody should run for something. It's a great experience, and if nothing else, my main goal was at least getting green viewpoints out and putting, in the public sphere. So, as running for statewide office, national office is really it'd be a miracle to get elected. Statewide office is a little bit more within reach, but even that you can broadcast your values and at least let them be stated in the campaign. As far as being on local boards, I would just say, I was a volunteer firefighter, and I can't crawl in burning buildings anymore. So I thought, my way to serve the community was to be on a board. I've always run unopposed. If you go to Secretary of State filings, there are a lot of board positions where are completely unopposed that you can run on. Soil and water conservation, water district, fire districts. You know, places, you know, I would just say if you want to serve your community, that's a really good place to start. And it'll also give you experience. You know, I've learned more about Robert's rules than I ever wanted to know. You can see Josiah kind of laughing in agreement with that. But you get good experience. You're serving your community. You get good experience, especially in the democratic process, and you know, implementing policies. You know, I've tried it being on the fire board, trying to implement policy, you know, green policies, and think about how to prepare for climate change and resilience of our first responders and so on. So, I mean, there are things you can do even in, you know, you would think the last place you could kind of implement green values would be in a fire board, but I'm just telling you, there's plenty of ways to do that.
Apologies.
So that's it. If anybody's got any questions, I'm glad to answer them, and I'll hand it off to whoever else is next.
Thank you, Alex.
Michael, Clary, you want to chime in?
I can chime. This is Michael Sunleitner, and what can I say? I was a full-time faculty person at Portland Community College for 27 years, teaching all the political science courses and helping to found the Peace and Conflict Studies program at PCC. There came a point in 2015 where the corporate nature of education was becoming very obvious at Portland Community College, and I ran for the board of directors, was elected a trustee. I ran a competitive race against the incumbent in my seat. There's an election district that has 140,000 registered voters. I raised some $10,000 in kind and in small donations. It was a classic three-way race with another very strong candidate, and I managed to emerge. Lots of experiences there. It's a nonpartisan position, so my party affiliation was not at issue, though in the voters pamphlet, I was endorsed by the Pacific Green Party, as well as the Working Families Party, as well as the Progressive Party, 3 ways. I've been a Green since 1995. So I'm longstanding, close to 30 years as a member of the Green Party. I'm looking at the questions, and basically, what does it mean for me to be on that board? Conflict. There was conflict virtually every meeting. I never missed a meeting in 8 years. I did run for a second term, another competitive race. I found myself to be largely marginalized by relatively liberal Democrats who did not value freedom of speech as much as I did, and who were far more corporate in their values. I tried to be gentle, a team player, and for the most part was successful with that. But even so, there were severe points of conflict. And I might add, this makes a large difference because PCC is the largest by far of the 17 community colleges in the state of Oregon, and is actually larger by population of students than the University of Oregon, or Portland State University. So what we do in terms of policy at PCC makes a difference. I don't want to talk too long. One small example, in 2017, I led the way to modify the PCC investment policy to ban investment in fossil fuels. After I rotated off the board a year ago, I did replace myself. I recruited a replacement who is much younger with great energy, and fundamentally is willing to raise questions like I was. The administration of a new president, who I had helped to select at PCC, decided to propose revisions to the investment policy, and in their revisions, they did not include a ban on fossil fuels. So we managed.
I'm sorry,
that.
we're at time.
Time is up.
We
Lots
appreciate
to
you.
talk about.
We appreciate you. Thank you.
Okay, I understand. And I might add that I find it disturbing not to be able to see other people in the panel or to be able to see other people at this meeting. I think everyone should be a panelist. Thank you.
And now we have the other Michael Clary, to present.
No, we have Michael Sundleitner. Michael Clary just spoke.
Okay.
I'm Michael Sundleitner just spoke.
Yeah, and I'm Michael Clary. Yeah, so assuming that's all straight, my name is Michael Clary. I'm director on the the Coos Soil and Water Conservation District. I'm also on the Coquille Watershed Association board. I've been a resident of Coos County for about 12 years now. My wife and I moved up here from the San Francisco Bay Area and bought a little farm on the river, on the Coquille River, and it started working on some conservation projects, and it got involved in with the Soil and Water Conservation District that way. And as our projects were progressing, I was approached to be on the board. Was an associate director for a couple of years, where you're sort of appointed in that role, and then ran for election in I guess it was 2020. Was unopposed, 18,000 votes. I think I got, and I know maybe 3 people in town. So that was a nice little confidence boost. But I agree with other panelists. It's a lot to learn about parliamentary procedure, a lot of conflict, a lot of sort of surprising politics about how there are certain other partners that we have that almost seem to want to stonewall soil and water conservation district policies and practices. So overcoming that, finding a way to help our district grow has been a challenge, but it's a worthwhile one. So I'll end it there unless anybody's got any questions.
Perfect. Thank you.
I'm trying to reach Chloe Flores, who is way out in Baker County in East Oregon, and I had really interesting conversation with her. Her experience in Eastern Oregon is very unique in that she cannot be too visible as a green because they're part of the LGBTQ community. What I suggest is if we could have like an open discussion about what it means to be the green on the board, or how we can help develop succession governing expertise, and have the current panelists present discuss that. And I'm going to try in the meantime to contact Chloe to see if she can come on.
Thank you, Nathalie. I'll go ahead and re-invite the folks as panelists and facilitate the discussion.
So the first question I have, and I don't know, Michael, if you want, Michael Clary, if you want to start, is how can we best support you all as elected officials?
Well, what you just said about, folks that live in, more conservative parts of the state, resonates pretty deeply with me here in the southwest part. It's fairly conservative, and you know, there is, I always feel like I'm a little bit at risk speaking out, and I think being connected to other Greens is just really helpful. You know, you feel pretty isolated out here. You know, I chose a rural lifestyle, but it's always nice to have an opportunity to connect with other folks that I think along the same lines, just for you know, a little boost in boosting confidence and, you know, pursuing the goals that our party has. So things like this are probably as important as anything else to me.
Does anyone else have an answer for Nathalie's question?
Sorry, I was being rejoined when the question was asked. Could you repeat the question?
I think the question was, you know, what can the Green Party do to help us, these individuals that are Green Party members in less than progressive communities, let's just say. And I'm excited, Michael, to meet you and all these other Green folks, because it is kind of a desert of progressivism out here. So more events like this. Zoom obviously is good for us out in the sticks here, but maybe even some regional get-togethers would be good. So I'll second Michael's concept.
I have another question, and it's a lot of us are from urban areas, right? So we are a bit more familiar with the dynamics in urban area. But I wanted to ask, what are some of the key issues that you think are very relevant to people in rural areas that we should make sure to include in our communications, in our, you know, in our outreach? And one thing that I wanted to do is at some point travel across the state and try to connect Greens across the state in person. I'm going to be running for Secretary of State, and one of the ideas was to go to different places across the state outside of urban areas. So what are some of the key issues that you think that you see are important that we should include that may not be included properly, and an approach to them?
If I can contribute to that, I mean, I do have a strong interest in healthcare advocacy, and I think that's one issue that really goes across party lines or ideology, you know, crosses all kinds of lines, but that there is a lot of there's a lot of strong feelings and support and upset about the current system. So, and especially in rural areas, because rural areas are losing pharmacies and hospitals, and you know, for those of you that haven't been kept on top of it, there's a huge takeover in place of corporations taking over clinics and health systems. Right here in Oregon, it already happened in Eugene. It's happened in Corvallis, and it continues to happen. So just for my 2 cents, I think that's a real winning issue. It's an important issue, and it impacts rural folks even more than urban folks, because they're losing. It's an access issue in rural communities.
Josiah, Michael, any input as to key issues we should address?
You know,
Well,
no, I'm sorry, you first, Josiah.
Yeah, just basic human dignity issues like healthcare, housing, all of the, you know, the things, a lot of the things that affect the cities also affect us out here. Housing costs are out of control, but access to healthcare is a challenge. So, and again, the things that make me green are the things that I'm going to support. Helping folks transition, you know, climate change. It's getting a lot of resistance out here because nobody wants to give up their diesel trucks, but they're also noticing that they need to change their farming patterns because of what's going on. So the biggest challenge between the rural and the urban areas is just that team blue, team red rural folks just don't like y'all city folks. So not much we can do about that, though. So go ahead, Michael.
Yeah, one of the things that I've found that helps and that may help our party is, finding issues where we can take a stand that are broadly unopposed, or where we can offer up a different perspective. Our position on veterans issues, I think, resonates with a lot of my conservative neighbors who are disenfranchised by their military experience. I'm involved with VFW here in my little town, and it's an opportunity for us to sort of start finding inroads with other veterans, and that I've found has been an opportunity where we can start overcoming a lot of the anti-science bias from our community. Our education system isn't great here, and it's always kind of interesting to sort of be able to help people understand how the way that they farm, for example, can be improved. We can improve their bottom line and improve habitat conservation concurrently. So looking for those issues where we can sort of find ways to connect people from across the table is a good place to focus effort, in my opinion.
Thank you. And does Michael Suntleitner want to hop in?
Well, I can hop. All that has been said, I think, is insightful. For me, it's more basic, and the rural-urban divide is real. I think where I have lived in rural areas, and I have for a good portion of my life as a farm worker, I think relationships are the key. Why should anyone listen to you, a Democrat, a Republican, or anybody else, if you're not one of us? If you develop relationships, then I think the rest follows. You listen and you hear what issues are dominant in your community, and you put a green spin on them. It's not that difficult to do. We need to communicate with people in language that they are prepared to listen to, not speak at them using words that we think they should hear.
Go ahead, Nathalie.
So Beilstein and Jason Collar are on the call. We need to promote them as panelists. They are in the middle of a brutal, super difficult ballot access battle in New York. Their deadline is May 28th, and they had requested to have the flexibility to come in when they're able to, because they're going from one meeting to the next. Our next agenda let me see, was to talk about have the presidential candidates present. So nice to see you, Jill. Thank you for your amazing work in New York. I go to bed thinking about New York signature gathering. So if you can just speak, we have allotted 5 minutes for each presidential candidate. I know that you guys are under the deadline and time very tight. After what we had planned as having the presidential candidates and then some time to talk about ballot access and fundraising for the federal matching funds. But I know that we have to be very flexible with you and Jason because you're doing the work on the ground. So just take it away. We have 45 minutes for the presidential candidate presentation. So we're going to be flexible here, let you talk and have a Q&A with participants in the convention.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Really good to see you again, Nathalie. And if I understand correctly, I have 5 minutes to present. Is that also 5 minutes to include our Q&A as well? Because I could be short, I could be like a minute and then have some discussion time.
So it's really up to you. We had a set 5 minutes for each candidate and then additional time for Q&A.
Okay,
But I don't know what your schedule is like. I know that you have like appointment, meeting, etc. So whatever works for you. If you want to do 5 minutes and 5 minutes for each of the candidates and then come back and do Q&A, that would be fine. That will work better for us, but it's up to you.
okay, we can try to do that. I can present for 5 minutes and then I can try to call back in what, like 20 minutes or half hour or something like that for Q&A.
15 minutes.
What's that?
15 minutes, because
In
we have a lot
15
of
minutes.
time for each.
Okay, all right, that would be great. So,
Thank you.
we can start the clock. And just to let you know, listening in on the prior conversation, it's always a question for us Greens about how do we do outreach, how do we grow the movement? Because there is, we're fighting on a very steeply tilted playing field to silence us as a party that's challenging empire and oligarchy and, just the suppression of grassroots democracy. And we're seeing that right now on steroids, where, the police state basically has been called out against anti-war protesters, those who want to stop genocide, just for asserting our constitutional rights of free speech and protest. The police are out in force, militarized. The riot police have been brought in basically to create a riot. I've just come now from a demonstration in Bay Ridge, in Brooklyn, in New York, and this was the site of a huge, just police brutality, horrific event where a week ago cops were pulling people out of the march, which was perfectly peaceful and legal, and they were just brutally beating people, knee dropping on their heads, punching them once they were already down on the ground. It was just amazing. I myself experienced very similar to that at Washington University in St. Louis, where we were basically beat up and assaulted with bicycles used as battering rams by our militarized police, which have been trained by the Israeli occupation forces. So this is empire coming home to roost. We're familiar with this as Greens, but the great news is that there's a huge mobilization going on. The ballot struggle here in New York is the most difficult in all of the states, because we have to collect 90,000 signatures basically to be secure in 6 weeks. So you can only do this really if you, like RFK, have very deep pockets. He bought up all the professional signature gatherers. So we wound up having to, because he can pay super rates here for the petitioners, and now he's moved them on to another state. So we've wound up having to do this grassroots mobilization. But the amazing thing is the turnout now. People really want to stop this genocide. They want to stop the endless war machine. They want to stop the crushing inequality and the war on working people and the war on our democracy. So we are really seeing right now the perfect storm for political mobilization. And we are seeing an unbelievable grassroots uprising from communities who are now standing up to say that this, lesser evilism doesn't serve us, that the politics of lesser evil is still evil, and the politics of fear has delivered everything we've been afraid of. So we're sort of experiencing right now this mobilization of our dreams that I never thought I would see. We have a strong chance to actually make it on the ballot. We will know on Tuesday what our numbers are when our petitions are due. So I just want to say that we are the one campaign which is anti-genocide, anti-war, climate emergency, pro-worker. We are the only such campaign that is on track to be on the ballot across the country. There are other wonderful candidates, Claudia de la Cruz and Cornel West, who have the same agenda, but do not have a way to get on more than a handful of ballots. In Claudia's case, maybe a dozen. They're fighting valiant fights, but they will not be a challenge to empire. To challenge empire, you've got to be on the ballot really on all the states. Otherwise, you'll just be marginalized. So we are on track right now, miraculously, and people are widely waking up to recognize that. We just won a poll among the Arab American community, showing us substantially ahead as the favored candidate. And the people who did that poll, who are professional pollers, were just blown away by the results that one of us has gotten so far ahead in basically what's a 7-way poll, that we are distinguished from the pack. And, I think that is what we are seeing right now, that the organizing that the party has been doing for a long, long time is really paying off. And kudos to everybody who's been there fighting this fight in Oregon. We are about to realize the fruits of these labors. Even if we don't get on the ballot in New York, although I think there's a very strong chance we will, we have a huge head of steam, and there is a large community now against genocide, against empire and oligarchy that really sees us as the foundation for building for the long haul. And that's what we're seeing. People who are not just mobilizing for this campaign, but for this campaign and building the Green Party as the vehicle for dismantling empire and oligarchy for the long haul. So it's kind of, it's kind of beyond my wildest dreams, I must say, to see what is actually happening right now in real time. So big thank you for all that you've done. And I will stop at this point and turn it back to you and hope to talk to you in about 15 minutes or 20 minutes, something like that. Thank you so very much.
Thank you. We'll see you soon.
Take care.
All right, so Jill Stein and Jason Call have other things that they got to get to, so we'll go ahead and continue with the rest of the candidates. And we will go with Davy or Davy. I'm sorry, I cannot remember how it was pronounced. If you could remind me when you hop on. He is not a recognized candidate, but we are doing this as a courtesy inclusion. I will go ahead and invite him as a panelist, and we will get started.
Greetings to you, to the Pacific Green Party in Oregon. We made it. We made it to the presentation of a core solution for our society. With no more room for complaints, new conversations for new results in our nation, in our world. I am Davy, artist, tech founder, 2021 candidate for mayor of New York City and avatar of Earth. In New York City in 2020, I vowed to ensure the sacred protection, harmony, and natural evolution of humanity and Earth. I'm running to earn your vote in 2024 as President of America and leader of the free world. I'm an independent presidential candidate seeking the Green Party's nomination. My areas of focus include rehabilitation and recycling, providing healing-oriented support for those ailing in body, mind, and/or behavior, creating a sewage to compost pipeline, finding harmony and balance between usage and contribution to Earth, the American refresh, intentionally managing the growth of society and technology, the mediator wing of the police, an emergency mediator wing of the police that on demand mediates tough situations and conversations without guns, batons, or slow court dates. I am the lone 2024 presidential candidate who is still in this race and not supporting the profit interests of mandates, big pharma, big tech, and/or war. The other presidential candidates have proven their missing commitment to the core principles of humanity and the high maintenance of Earth. But that's just a choice. We can make another. I'm here to present another way, another choice of vision called Earth Order. I'm going to explain the core points, and if you believe this would be better for the humans of America, you can agree at home by saying indeed when I point to you. And don't worry, I can hear you. Earth Order is a new choice that offers direct democracy, an online voting system that allows us to ongoingly vote for the exact government we want moving forward. A new choice that provides equal salaries for those for chosen work or self-created work. A new choice where all have access to quality housing through a housing exchange. A new choice that covers all healthcare costs. I heard at least 4 indeeds. I think that means you should support what you have agreed is better for the humans of America. The things that you want for our American society, regardless of which candidate is presenting it. I encourage you to read or listen to the full campaign plan at bydavi.com, bydavi.com. También en español. As a presidential candidate, I consider my service to each member in each state. I understand certain people in this party's management chose not to hold a vote for Green Party presidential nominee. There is another group of the Pacific Greens who held another convention earlier this month, organized by John Q., who wrote the large consensus document shared in the chat, where about 80 Greens voted, and I received 39% of the vote for 4 delegates. In either case, this leaves the majority of the nearly 10,000 Greens registered in Oregon without a vote for president in the 2024 primary. Like I said before, I see myself as in service to you, to each Green in each state for the betterment of the Green Party. And I say, I want to see the Green Party made whole again before the presidential nomination convening. It is urgent that in a nation full of deceit and confusion, that the parties standing for democracy stand together in a united front to the National Green Party and to the nation. I offer myself as a mediator to navigate a difficult conversation to move forward in a united voice. We must be willing to have the hard conversations internally in order to have any chance of having the beautiful wins we want externally. Command that your party be unified and follow through for unification. Despite efforts of a few to sweep it under the rug, we are the Green Party. We have come together around principles, most urgently democracy. We can't expect America to offer us democracy if we don't offer it to ourselves. We, with the Davi for President 2024 campaign, with a plan for equality and democracy, we have a better plan so we can begin to do better, so we can live in a high-functioning, unlimited society. I am upholding the best campaign for the improvement of the core life quality of the American human. I am asking for your trust to lead. I am asking for you to do something outside of the regular that will allow people to see something new, for us to break through as a nation. Vote Davi for president in 2024 so that we can lead together onward toward a super and superb America. Thank you.
Thank you. If you have questions for him, go ahead and please put them in the Q&A and we will make sure that they get answered. And then now we will go ahead and invite Jasmine Sherman as a panelist and get her going.
Is Jasmine logged in?
It doesn't look like she's here. Should we just go ahead and move to George for his video presentation, or if he's here, we can go ahead and do in person.
Yeah. Yes, he's here. I just promoted him as a panelist. George, you might need to rejoin as a panelist, okay?
Perfect. Looks like he's here. And go ahead. When you're ready, we'll start the time.
Jorge? You're muted.
Okay, here we go. Can you hear me, everyone?
Super well, thank you. Thank you for joining us.
It's a pleasure. Thank you very much for the opportunity to speak. Welcome, Oregon. Good morning. Before I begin to speak about my platform and the fight for democracy here, I want to give a little foreshadow of the 3 truths. There's a lot of perceptions and a lot of confusion in arguing how we look at things in life. Now, I wrote several press releases, some national press releases, and one of them is the 3 truths. So when everybody says that's not the truth, it's from their perception. There's our personal truths that we hold and that we believe and are close to our heart, and then we fight for. And then there's political truths that we have to acknowledge and accept. Now, they're usually in conflict with each other. Now, in order to distinguish this conflict, I want to take. I'm sorry about that. I want to make it clear that we got to convert objective data into objective truth. Where did this data come from? Where is it standing? and where's it pointing? But never bring this objective truth close to us so we can make good sound decisions. So personal truth versus political truth versus objective truth as we make our decisions and conflict. I want us to see if we can pay attention to that. Now, some of this, the green technology that I'm trying to bring forth is on my website at votejz.org. Now, this green technology has been deterred by a couple factors, by the patents. The patents hold the rights and they control everything. There's non-contested patents like the oil companies had to take away ethanol and shutting down biodiesel fuels facilities. Okay, so we got to join together and sign the petitions that I've also created on my website. There's over a dozen of them there. We got to fight. And the only way to fight is give value to your voice. And I want to make another point clear real quick, is that it was addressed to me by a federal judge. It's an analogy of the courtroom. See, the reason why a lot of people don't vote because they feel that their voice doesn't have a value, and it's true to a certain extent. So let me get some clarity on this. You're an undocked vessel trespassing in a harbor. If you open your mouth without being docked, you're babbling and you're creating perjury against yourself. The only way to be docked is with an attorney, and you must pay that toll. So that's why we don't have value. We always have to have an attorney. So I urge everybody to become educated as a paralegal or get our children to become more attorneys, because we don't have a value in this land. We have liberty, but we really don't have freedom. And that's what everyone's fighting, you know, to right to speak, to be heard. Now, the capitalistic companies, they know this. They take the patents, they redirect us, and they monopolize, and then they destroy everything in their path to get as much money as they can. That money is not going back into the economy. So this is a big problem here. And so fighting for democracy, all these different petitions that I have must be signed in order for them to bring up in front of Congress. Okay? So this is a real example of fighting democracy in hand, putting the power of democracy in your hands. Now, as far as the green technology is there's a lot of practical, wonderful green technology, just like there's a lot of holistic methods and practices for medication. But the FDA won't approve them, will they? They deny their existence until your death, right? Just for money again. So we need to fight, sign the petitions to fight that and bring some value. There's some simple technology like the water vortex implosion system. Understanding that water is not a part of life, that it is life. It has a consciousness and awareness to it. And it's an acid and a base. Now it protects and preserves life. As we look outside, we see the tree. Water converted itself. And so looking at it in a different angle, again on my website, there's some videos of the mysteries of water. And Morgan Freeman talks about, is the ocean alive? And so protecting our environment and having some ecological wisdom is really benefit. Now, using this water vortex understanding is that the water will chain itself into clusters.
I'm so sorry to interrupt, but your time is up. If you want to just finish up your sentence.
Okay. I also propose real quick to bring Taiwan back the American dollar into the American soil to protect against wars and also to bring forth the economy. Thank you.
Thank you. So we're currently trying to contact the Sherman campaign, and if we can't get her on, we're going to go ahead and give you a link to a video on why she is running. In the meantime, give us just a few moments to work this out.
I sent a text to Felipe to try to contact the Jasmine Sherman campaign. I'm not sure if Felipe was able to. What I suggest is to just play her video. She can come on afterwards in the Q&A.
Okay.
Whomever is sharing the screen can link the video and share their screen.
Perfect. Give me 1 second. Trying to find her video now.
Understand that you are impoverished right now. Candidates that claim that they recognize that the middle class is gone or defunct or depleted, and they have no day one solution. Now, we have some people, including me, who are talking about eliminating property tax, but that doesn't help people nearly enough fast enough, because not everybody owns property. We have some people that are talking about, oh, well, we're going to change the way income tax works. But how long is that going to take them to negotiate? When will you see that savings? Some of the candidates are not talking about universal basic income. They're talking about ending poverty, but they're not telling you how. They're not providing you with a timeline. And y'all are okay with that. I mean, I don't know what your bank account looks like, so I'm saying, I'm being respectful. I'm not trying to be funny. I'm not trying to be funny. But if you're broke today, and you're talking to a candidate that doesn't want to get you money tomorrow, what are you doing? Why are you engaging? Why are you about to take yourself out of a situation where you have politicians who don't deliver, who do not provide, listen to what you are requiring, pay taxes for? Why would you go from that abusive relationship to another abusive relationship? And I really want you guys to understand, I don't mean any disrespect, but at 65, all Americans should be able to retire. I do not think that we are in a position where we can continue to allow the elderly to lead our government. That is me saying, why are you considering voting for someone over the age of 70 who doesn't have the same life experiences as you, that doesn't have the same struggles as you, that cannot fathom what your basic human needs are today? You need help today. You need your bills paid today. You need health insurance today. Why are you entertaining candidates that do not understand that universal health care is a requirement for us to succeed? Why are you entertaining candidates that don't know that it is cheaper for us to provide everyone on Turtle Island with health care, quality health care, dental, vision, prescription coverage, holistic care? Why are you not making sure that all the candidates that are running, that you are entertaining, have those things as priorities? Why do we pretend that we are sick of imperialism, that we are sick of white supremacy, and then make phrases, well, we want candidates that are going to give us stability? No, you want candidates that are not going to maintain the status quo of America, because the status quo of America is you not being able to own a home, is you not having a future. Voting for candidates that are going to give you stability, right now, you've been stable in poverty, you've been stable in having nothing, you've been stable in working yourself to death. How many of you are doing more than one job? This culture is not a flex like y'all think it is. In America, you should only be entertaining candidates that are telling you your one job, the one job you do already, should be enough. So many of you have children that you don't get to spend time with because you're working. But you're entertaining candidates that can't tell you when you'll have enough money so you'll be able to spend time with your family. You're entertaining candidates that can't tell you when you will be able to expect your health care. You are entertaining candidates that are not telling you what day they are going to fix the school system, what day they're going to give teachers raises. And for anybody that's like, they can't do that, why not? We use Microsoft Project and businesses all over the country. We can provide those timelines. That technology exists. So why can't candidates that have more privilege, more funding, more exposure, provide you with things that we actually need in America? Why are you
Oops, sorry. Sorry, I screwed up.
Everybody out here claims to care about the trans community. What are they going to do to fix the trans community? What are they going to provide? Don't get me wrong. I know I got called out for not having a trans policy, but enough of you called me out. But guess what? I have a trans policy now. Why are you entertaining politicians that don't want to work for you? Instead, they want you to put them in office and they'll get around to doing a couple of things, maybe. We are at a state of late stage capitalism that requires urgency. We are at a state of destruction in regard to our environment that requires immediate action. Why are we?
Perfect. Thank you for sharing that, Nathalie. And then it looks like Jason and Jill are back. If they're now on the panelist section, so we can go ahead and start that Q&A if they're ready.
Yes, so we had a couple of questions. Let me just bring them up. The first question was from, hold on, who was the first question? The first question is it's come from Jonathan Wegman, and his question is, how shall I campaign for Beilstein in my community? I'm in Yamhill County, and Yamhill County is a rural county.
I can jump in and I'm also, happy for Jason to answer as campaign manager, but basically, we have a signature drive going on to be on the ballot in Minnesota. So the biggest help right now is ensuring that we are on the ballot and that we are offering the Green Party's vision for a pro-worker, anti-war, anti-genocide, climate emergency campaign. And if you can connect with us at our website, jillstein2024.com, or through the Green Party of Minnesota, because I assume we'll all be working on this together, that would be really great. It's not a humongous amount of signatures. It's definitely doable, but the more hands on deck, the easier the job will be. We have literature and, walk cards and so on that help get the message across to people. And we're finding it really exciting to be out there talking to people about the things that we urgently need, which resonate enormously with the American people who, are in the target hairs right now of empire and oligarchy, are struggling to keep a roof over their heads, to afford their rent, to get health care. And we're promoting single payer. We have a whole housing justice agenda, including federalizing rent control and ensuring that we are building so-called social housing, previously called public housing. We need to make housing available, and we're providing an economic bill of rights as part of our Green New Deal, guaranteeing the right to housing, education from preschool through grad school for free, abolishing student debt, a Green New Deal with the right to a job, and also the right to a universal basic income above poverty, and also, downsizing the military, slashing the military budget so that we're spending our tax dollars on what we need right here instead of squandering half of our congressional budget on endless wars that make us less safe, not more safe. So we've got, these are issues that resonate profoundly with the American public, and to be out there petitioning is one way to begin engaging that conversation. And we can go from there, and we really look forward to working with you. Jason, do you want to jump in?
Yeah, I do want to jump in. I'll first say that we're in Oregon, not Minnesota right now. So Oregon.
We were in Minnesota on our last call. I'm so sorry.
And I'm going to keep my video off. I keep being asked to put my face on here, but I'm not right now because I'm sitting in a cafe in Brooklyn having a bite to eat before I go back out to the office and do more work for our petitions in here in New York. But I think the question may be asking, what are we going to do specifically to help people, help us in Oregon. And as soon as we get through our big ballot drives here in New York, Illinois, and Indiana, and as we approach the convention, we're going to start building field teams in each state. And, you know, depending upon our resources, we may have to have regional field teams, but, you know, we certainly will have coordinators on the ground locally that you can reach out to for resources and help get out into your local communities.
Thank you. And Natalie, go ahead.
I would like to mention, Mr. Wigman, that one thing that you can do is also contact us, the Green Party of the Pacific Green Party of Oregon, and identify, for example, the 4th of July parade, the country fair, the concerts, the local events in your area. And I will put you in touch with people in your area who are Green Party members. And we can even try, if we coordinate well and it's a good time, we can have a team from like Eugene, Corvallis, Portland, help you for those events to have a bigger presence. That's a really good way to get the message across. What you need to do is actually to connect with people in your area, in your local, and do the type of organizing and campaigning that you enjoy doing. Because being an activist, especially in these avant-garde movements, is really a lot of work. And so you need to bring the joy to it, and you need to take care of yourself and your community. That's really super important. So if you want, you can contact campaigns with an S at pacificgreens.org, and I'll make sure to contact you with people in the area. You will have to do the work to find out the events in your area. I know that there's a country fair and the July 4th parade. The other thing is go to your local electoral office. We have the link in our campaigns tab on the pacificgreens.org website, and look for the races that do not have any contestants. So look for those uncontested races and find people who want to run for those uncontested races, because the more they see us and our positions on the pamphlet, voters pamphlet at the end of the year, the more visibility our campaigns and our party will have. So those are actually really, really important things that you can do locally, because the movement is a grassroots movement. So it has to start in your community. You have to connect with others. You cannot do it by yourself. You have to connect with others in your area. And I have to say that it's one of the most, running for office is one of the most empowering and wonderful things that you can ever do, because as a candidate in the United States, you have an immediate platform that people respect. And it's a joy to connect with people who share your views. Sorry, that was too much work. But we have another question, as somebody wanted to know, is when will we know whether you made it on the ballot in New York?
We'll have a very good idea actually on Tuesday. On Tuesday, we are driving the petitions to Albany. And so we will have a very good idea Tuesday morning what the count is. And there will actually be more signatures that will be delivered over the course of the day. But we are submitting our basic package Tuesday afternoon, I think around 2 o'clock or so. So we should know in the morning what our baseline is. And then we expect to add many thousands in addition. We have to submit the basic package, and then the idea is any signatures that then come to us after that, as long as we have postmarked them, they can be mailed in by the campaign throughout Tuesday up until the closing time of the post office. So we will be, down to the wire all the way. There's definitely a strong chance, and it has been so heartwarming to see all these grassroots groups, all these networks all over the state. Many of them are anti-war, anti-genocide, and anti-Islamophobia. There's been a huge uprising of the Arab American community, which has been so mind-boggling to see that so many people now are really embracing the Green Party as their value system and as where they see the great hope and empowerment lying for the future. And this is a very well networked community that has kind of come to this position slowly over the course of years, but they do seem, and we've had conversations all across the country with Arab American groups who are really ready to mobilize in a very big way. So I'm really excited about what this means to the Green Party for the long haul, to be now working in concert with, whole new demographics. And I would add to that the many in the African American community and also in the First Nations, again, see our relationship fighting genocide here and fighting militarism entirely in line with their own experience of genocide at the hands of the US empire and the settler colonial state here. So it just feels like we're really expanding our alliances in a way that will have huge implications for the future. I'm very excited about what this means for us as a party.
I have a question from Mike Beilstein. Mike Beilstein, by the way, is a very long-time Green Party member, and I want to recognize his many contributions to the party. He was a county commissioner in Benton County way back as a Green, and he has a question. At the forum of Green presidential candidates, 4 candidates would not pledge to support the Green candidate if it wasn't them. This looks like sabotage. What do you think? Could we ask candidates if they will support the Green candidate if they are not nominated? Sorry, and Mike was Councillor of Corvallis, not the county. So I think Jorge is on the line. Jorge, could you respond to that question? Would you support the Green Party that is not a candidate that is not, if you're not nominated? I think he was a panelist. Okay. Jorge, you're promoted as a panelist, and we will have to get back on the agenda. The other question that we have is from Devin Lawson. Is he wants to know what is your education policy referencing K to 12? What is the educational policy referencing K to 12?
And is that, who is that directed to?
Well, Jorge declined to be a panelist, so I guess it will be just you because Jasmine is not online.
I see. Okay, great. So just FYI, we now have our platform, a very detailed platform posted on our website. So you can go to jillstein2024.com and see our education policies in detail. But, I can tell you generally some of the major principles of education, which is that it is critical. It is really a birthright that everyone is entitled to a high quality public education. We oppose the privatization of our schools, the systematic privatization of the schools that have been degrading our schools and our school budgets for the last decade and a half or so. We support federal dollars to ensure that all communities have the same equal floor for education funding, because right now the quality of K through 12 education depends on the real estate value and the property tax, and that's extremely unjust. So we want to ensure that all Americans have access to a high quality education. We support strong support for disability integrated into our education system to ensure that we have proper supports for any kind of special needs in our school system. And, that we have quality physical plants for our schools, which are polluted, which contain asbestos and PCBs and poor air quality and inadequate filtration. So, and then to add that we support public higher education as well, providing that for free as an extension of the K through 12 system. And more details you can find in our platform on the website.
Perfect, thank you. And then it looks like that's all the questions we have for Jill. And then we're going to have Jorge go ahead and answer the question from Mike Beilstein. And then we will go ahead and move to our break.
Yes, hello?
Go ahead. Go ahead, Jorge.
Okay, is this the question for the children?
The question was, it's from Matt Beilstein. Would you
I'm sorry.
support the presidential candidate nominee if you're not the nominee?
Oh, yes, no, I'm sorry, I couldn't see the queue. Of course, I would support and uphold the future welfare and benefit of the Green Party. Very important that we support each other. I think that's crucial. So yes, I will support.
Yeah, and I want to mention that of the other candidates, Jorge is the only one who's a Green Party member and has been active locally. And I just want to thank you for that word, Jorge.
Thank you.
I'm sorry, can't you answer the same question, please?
Yes, and I absolutely will support the Green Party nominee because this is the party that we have been building for decades, and we need to continue to build. Absolutely.
Perfect. Thank you. Jasmine is not on the channel, so we can't ask the question for her. And then because Davi is not a recognized candidate, I don't think that we'll go ahead and ask him this question, and then we should go ahead and move into our 10-minute break.
Yeah, and Jason just shared that we made it in Idaho.
Oh,
So
perfect.
we have a 10-minute break. So you can, if anybody has any more questions, please go ahead. People can stay on the call for the next 10 minutes. We're recording this webinar so we can post it online as well and post clips of it. Can you give us an update on which states we need to focus on for the ballot access and also on the federal fund matching fund?
Jill, do you want me to answer this one?
Sure. Why don't you go ahead?
Okay, so first of all, we've already completed what we needed for federal matching funds, and we should be filing that paperwork. If it's not already done,
I think it is.
and done on Friday, is the matching. Yeah, I think matching funds has already been filed for. Happened this week. And then as far as ballot access, our upcoming states, once we're done with New York, it's Indiana and Illinois. They are both high signature counts, high dollar investment as far as having to pay people on the ground. But, our networks are really activated right now. And beyond that, we have, probably 23 or 24 other states that we are petitioning. They don't have nearly as high signature counts as Illinois and Indiana. So really, once we get past July 3rd, which is the Indiana ballot access submission date, all of the other states are much lower, 5,000. Some of them are 10,000, but they're all very doable. And many of them are well on their way to, like Missouri, they've got 8,000 of the 10,000 that they need. So we expect to, once we get New York here, we expect to really be on the ballot in all 50 states. We're about to submit signatures in Alaska too.
Great, so that's really great news to hear. What are the type of tasks, or what are type of skills, or what are you looking for in terms of specific volunteering activity in locals? And Jason, I know that you're running for Senate in Washington, I think Senate, correct?
Okay.
And that it's actually a phenomenal campaign, so maybe you can talk about it, because in Portland, we can just jump to Vancouver and help campaign for you there.
Well, I'm not Senate. I'm House District 2, which is north of Seattle and up to the Canadian border and the islands in the North Puget Sound. But certainly, if anybody wanted to come up to that area and do some canvassing for me, we would definitely be able to put you to work. But as far as helping out with Jill's campaign, as far as ballot access, I think the closest state to Oregon that we're still seeking ballot access in is Wyoming. And so we do encourage people to take road trips and go petition if they're inspired to do so. But I think all of the Western states, Colorado we're on, Nevada, we just submitted 30,000 signatures where they only needed 10,000. And so, if Nevada shows us anything about the momentum, we really are confident about New York. But you know, North Dakota, South Dakota, Nebraska, Kansas, we're petitioning in all of those states. If anybody wants to travel to collect signatures, we'd definitely accept that help. You know, in many of these places where it's sparse population, we are probably going to be dropping some money on paid petitioners. And, you know, honestly, we'd be happy to pay Green Party people to come out and make those road trips. Also, here in New York, we're putting people up in hotels and paying them money to go do petitioning if that's what they need. Some people are volunteering. Some people are saying, hey, I need a paycheck to do this. Either way, we're happy to accept the help. We've got to get the signatures.
And just piggybacking on that, as Nathalie said, it is really such an empowering, uplifting project to be running for office and offering people a choice that they are absolutely clamoring for, that speaks to the emergencies that we find ourselves immersed in every dimension of our lives. And when you're doing a petition drive, I find it so much fun right now to go out and talk to people and explain what our campaign is about. And you know, people are just wildly enthusiastic about it, even if they know nothing about the candidate or about the party. They're just like, what? You have, you know, you want to get onto the presidential ballot, a campaign that in support of universal rent control and universal health care and ending the genocide in Gaza. It's like people are blown away. It's really, really fun. And New York has been such a wonderful experience. Some unbelievable powerhouses have just parachuted in from all across the country to help. And these are people, you know, some from other independent third parties like Socialist Alternative, others who've not been a member of a party at all before and who are just discovering the Green Party for the first time. And they are absolute powerhouses. So, you know, just really want to encourage anybody who wants to be a part of a really wonderful exercise in democracy at a time that democracy is on life support. It really needs us. And I think you'll have a lot of fun doing it. So just get in touch if you want to be a part of it.
Great. We'll try to clip that and promote it. Get it out. We're doing a lot of work internally. Jorge, I just want to thank you so much for being present and for running and doing the work. It's really very appreciated, super appreciated.
I have a question for George, if I may. George, can you give us a little rundown of the situation of your campaign and how can we in Oregon help you if you are elected? Please give us a summary of how your campaign is doing.
Okay. All right, thank you. So how can you support me? Okay, we got to sign these petitions, the ones that I created. We got to go in front of Congress, got to make a difference in these people's lives. We got to get people to start believing in themselves. We need to get people to start believing in others. So there's a bridge that gets crossed, gets created. So there's an eternal goal here. We need to focus on the youth. Kids are mean to each other. When they grow up, they're getting even nastier. So as a children, we install in school because everybody makes fun of people, especially people that are disabled, they're poor. We gotta help those who cannot help themselves. We gotta teach these kids to embrace things that are different so we don't grow into the society that we are right now. So signing the petitions, you know, bringing this green technology in there, you know, talking about getting off the grid and fighting the patents so it can release the people that want to create small businesses. We must fight big tech. We must bring in green technology, and we must help the poor and the disabled so we have a better future economy.
Thank you, George. Best of luck of you. And Jill, thank you for being here with a busy schedule.
Thank you. And likewise, thank you to Jorge for being a part of this and supporting the process. Thank you, Jorge.
Thank you.
So with that in mind, as you heard, it takes money to run a party. We need to do the printing. In Oregon, we want to be able to hire a part-time organizer and hire a bookkeeper to keep our records straight, make sure that we can focus on organizing. So I encourage everybody to go to our donation page. on the website. I'm going to share the screen that I'm going to send the email, the address through the chat, or maybe a facilitator can do that. But please donate. We actually need you to become monthly sustainers. We cannot grow the party without funding. It cannot be done on a volunteer basis. It takes hours of work every week just to keep the basic structure, emails going, social media going, answer phone calls, organizing volunteers. It's too much work for a volunteer position. We are growing the party beyond what a volunteer capacity can be. I urge you to please become a sustaining member, even if it's on a quarterly basis, whatever you can. It has to happen. Like, we will not grow just on a volunteer basis, because we're going to continue reinventing the wheel. People get burnt out. It's just too much work for a volunteer. The people that you're seeing here after 25 years doing volunteer work are not going to be able to sustain it. Like, it's not possible. So please put your $5–10 a month to the local Green Party, because it happens at the local level. That's where it happens. We need money for printouts, to put us on the parades, to knock on doors, to do our merchandising. You have to become a monthly sustainer. The other thing is that we started with Felipe. We created a great little buttons and hats that we're sporting. I've gone canvassing for Mike Schmidt with my Green Party hat, and let me tell you, people notice. People notice that you're out there doing the work. People notice when you're in a rally. People notice when you're doing the work, the being there and showing up for other organizations. Wear your Green Party, wear your button. We need to do t-shirts. We need to have the seed money for the t-shirts. So we're going to have a little program where you can kind of like subscribe to get a t-shirt, but we need to be visible with our Green Party paraphernalia. At the National, they have a great store where you can also buy National Green Party material. And let me see if I can find it. Here you are. It's all linked to our agenda, to the agenda for the convention. And here are some, of course, legalize it. I have a funny story about that from the 2000 convention. But we have all sorts of, the National has all sorts of materials, the Young Eco-Socialists, Queer Liberation, just sport Green Party paraphernalia, so that you can be seen being green and we can start recognizing each other out there. Super important. So now we're going to move to the part about electing 11 electors to the National Nominating Convention. Greg, please take it over.
We should actually move to our actual 10-minute break first, and then let's go ahead and move to the electors. So we'll go ahead and start the timer for 10 minutes, and then we'll come back and get going on the electors. Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
All right, so the 10-minute break is over. We're gonna go ahead and move to Greg, who will present the electors section for our national convention. Let's see and make sure that everyone gets here before we get going.
Is everybody back?
Perfect. Okay, it looks like people are trickling in, so if you just want to go ahead and get started.
Great. So this is a need for the election of 11 electors to the National Presidential Nominating Convention. This requires you to be a registered Green. And this will be proportional votes earned by each candidate. The National Convention is August 16th through 18th. The potential is in-person regional meeting in Washington, with Washington to attend the online national convention. The number of electors, so if you're interested, we have a form. How do we share the form with folks?
We'll go ahead and put that in the chat for everyone.
Great, so you fill out the form. And then
The form is linked to the agenda for the convention. It's listed on the page for the on the page for the convention.
Thanks a lot. And so we need the form. So you would need to fill out the form and then send in a brief bio, which is just 100 words max. And then a photo. And the photo is sent to conventions@pacificgreens.org, which I think will be shared in the chat right now. Devin, if you could share that.
Perfect, share.
And this was put on the agenda for 20 minutes, but I think that may be complete. Devin, what do you think?
Yeah, so please, anyone, if you are interested in the national convention, being a delegate for that, please do fill out that form. It's on the agenda, which is posted on our website, and it's also in the chat. And if you have any questions, feel free to just put that in the Q&A and questions about the delegate process or how to become a delegate, anything like that. Please do put those questions up there. We'll make sure those get answered. And then Mary will be presenting our candidates who are running for office. And we'll go ahead and get started with that. Mary, if you want to get started, I'll be inviting folks to be panelists as you work on that.
We have a few candidates who sent their
I'm
a little bit later, so I'll be adding them to the agenda.
okay. Let me get to the right spot. Okay. I think we're gonna start with Mike Beilstein. He's running for District 15 of the Oregon State Legislature.
Should I start speaking?
Yes, please.
Hi, I'm Mike Beilstein. I'm running for the Oregon State Legislature, District 16, which Dan Rayfield was our representative in this district for many years, and he's running for Attorney General this year, so he's not running for the seat. So it's an open seat. About me personally, I'm a retired research chemist. I worked at Oregon State University for 30 years. I've been a member of the Green Party for 25 years in Oregon. And I guess currently I'm the chair of the coordinating committee for the Lynn Benton chapter, centered in Corvallis. I've served for 12 years on the Corvallis City Council, and I think I've been a Green candidate. These were the city council is nonpartisan, but I've run as a Green, I guess 8 times for partisan offices, 6 times for the U.S. Congress in 4th District, running against Peter DeFazio and twice for county commissioner in Benton County. For this position, of course, I represent the basic green values, of nonviolence, ecological wisdom, democracy, democratic participation, and social justice. So those are kind of basic things that I've always represented as a green. And of course, we have particular issues which have been identified as green issues in Oregon, including single-payer healthcare, ranked choice voting, public banking, instituting a carbon tax, free education through universities. So these are kind of standard green values, which I've always represented. And when I'm running for county commissioner, I've always run on the concept of a Green New Deal for Benton County. Okay, so I guess I've had balloon of time. But anyway, in this race, I intend to focus on two issues, which are maybe kind of wonky. One is state acquiring of the natural gas industries in Oregon. There are 3 companies that supply natural gas to people in Oregon, and those 3 companies are required by state law to meet state climate goals, reducing their carbon emissions by 50% by the year 2030, and by 2050 by 90%. Now, the business of natural gas is selling fossil fuels, and they can, and so they have submitted plans for these reductions, and those plans have been rejected by the state for each of these 3 companies that operate in Oregon, Northwest Natural Gas being the largest of them. So I'm convinced that the only way that we can protect consumers is to acquire these companies by the state and shut them down. The total capitalization of the 3 companies is under $2 billion, so it's certainly affordable. And the state would have assets and income from this while they were operating the gas companies and pruning them down, reducing the service areas and assisting customers to switch over to electrical sources of energy for their homes. So I plan to make this my primary campaign issue because it's something that's needed to be done in the state. And of course, the corporate controlled Democrats and Republicans are not going to address this. The other big issue that I intend to address is property tax reform and well, tax reform in general. But because of Measure 5 and 50, we have limitations on the ability of local governments to finance themselves. So they've turned to other sources of revenue, fees, and cut services. So when I as a city councilor, I was aware that the League of Oregon Cities, every legislature there.
Mike,
yes,
you're past your 3 minutes now.
Okay.
So
well, I'll finish quickly. Anyway, so there's a great unfairness in the tax system in Oregon, and Measure 5 and 50, if you're aware of those, have caused that. And so I intend to address that through the legislature. So those will be the campaign issues I'm running on. So thank you for your time, and I think it's important that we have green candidates on the ballot.
Okay, thank you, Mike, very much.
Yep.
Our next person is Andy Aswan.
Doesn't look like he's here with us today.
Do we have anything in the folder for him? I don't see anything.
I believe we have a link to his campaign website, which we can put in the chat for folks.
Okay. If you could do that, because I don't have it in front of me, apologies.
Sounds good.
Okay. Okay, back to gosh, the next one, I don't know if I can get this pronunciation correct. Nathalie Paravicini for Secretary of State.
Yes, good afternoon. So I ran for Secretary of State 4 years ago against Shemia Fagan. And one of my biggest issues was actually the severance tax, Mike, which I think needs to be, it's a disaster that the severance tax has not been, taken off Oregon laws, because it basically took all of the money that was going to rural counties and created a mega problem that we have now. And the other big issue that I've run in for is campaign finance reform, working with the Honest Elections Coalition. We've done amazing work. We were about to get on the ballot with petition 9 with a very radical, as in going to the root of campaign finance reforms that scared the legislators and our opponents so much that they begged us to negotiate with them, which we did. And we negotiated because long-term we need to work with labor and our allies. We are allies on many other issues. And even if we passed an initiative, if they were really upset with us, they would undermine it afterwards, right? Passing additional legislation. So we now have a really good legislation that passed. And the Secretary of State is going to be issuing the rules for campaign finance reform, which is one of the reasons I'm running for Secretary of State, to educate people about the rules that need to be implemented and also about the work that still needs to be done for campaign finance reform. In addition, the governor and the Secretary of State are both part of the land board, which determines forest policy and the management of Oregon forests. And we have a very small amount of really old growth left, and we need to absolutely preserve biodiversity. And those issues are very important. Dennis Boyer is creating a committee, an environmental work group, and encourage people, if you're interested in environmental issues, to get involved with that. But those are the main issues that I'm running for as a Secretary of State, and I would like to travel across the state to reach out to rural areas and also to help organize Greens in those rural areas. We heard from other elected officials, Greens, that they feel isolated. And so we need to start establishing those links and connecting with each other, because we actually share a lot of the values. I used to organize in the Deep South as a Green, and I had my best reception in the most conservative areas because nobody goes and talks to them. And so when you talk from, your heart and from like the perspective of the 99%, it totally resonates with them. So please, my website is up, but it's not updated. So it's just up right now. Connect with campaigns at pacificgreens.org if you want to get involved in the campaigns. In Portland, we're going to have really great Green candidate, Marnie Glickman, and we're organizing around that. Thank you.
Sorry, I muted myself because my pet was making a lot of noise. Thank you, Nathalie. Our next candidate is Joseph Meyer, running for U.S. House District 3. Is Joseph with us?
Yes, I am.
Awesome. Go for it.
Oh, thank you very much. I'm Joe Meyer. I'm seeking the Green Party nomination for U.S. House District 3. That's Earl Blumenauer's district, and he's been our representative since '96. And for him, Ron Wyden was starting in 1981. And this seat has been held or owned by what I call the corporate blue party since 1955, before I was born. And how have things gone for you in that time? I've seen the two parties merge together, and there being less and less of a choice. In this most recent primary, AIPAC funneled some $2 million to Maxine Dexter's campaign and overwhelmed Congressional District 3 voters with negative ads against Shishia Jayapal. And just like we see all over America today, the AIPAC candidate won in a landslide. This is why, over the years, Israeli citizens have become in some ways more important to U.S. Congress than U.S. citizens. Israeli citizens have excellent health care, guaranteed education, free education up through college, and many live a much finer lifestyle than many Americans. AIPAC spends a few $1 million on U.S. candidates, and we send them billions of dollars on a good year and tens of $billions on war. How does the genocide in Palestine benefit the American people? That's what I want the blue and red party candidates to tell me. So the first reason I'm running, because it's not a democracy if AIPAC handpicks the seat for the 3rd Congressional District in Oregon. It's not a democracy if genocide goes unmentioned in the race for this seat. I'm Joe Meyer. I hope I get your nomination.
Thank you, Joe, very much. Our next candidate is Justin Filip. He's running for U.S. House of Representatives, Oregon District 4. Justin?
Yes, thank you. Thanks, Mary. Yeah, my name's Justin Filip, obviously. And just as a reminder for folks who may not be familiar with me, I served for 3 years on the state coordinating committee here at the Pacific Green Party and currently serve as the secretary. In addition to that, I'm a founding member of the New Eugene chapter of the Green Party down here in Eugene. Through that, we have joined a coalition, which is called the Springfield Eugene Anti-Imperialist Coalition. And through that, we've gotten into a lot of like Palestinian organizing, trying to end the genocide in Gaza, which our current representative for this district, Val Hoyle, Democrat, is quite bad on this issue. To be blunt, my perception of Val Hoyle is she's not a very particularly bright person. She's someone who just kind of goes along to get along. She's very much a Joe Biden cheerleader. I don't know how she can justifiably use progressive as a label, but in my opinion, she's a faux progressive. She has a number of problematic votes, including this recent anti-Semitism bill, military funding bills, and lately she supported a very unpopular stadium measure, ballot measure for the city to pay for a new stadium for the minor league baseball team, which was resoundingly defeated by at least 2/3 of the voters here in Eugene. So Val Hoyle is pretty out of touch, I think, with the electorate here. She doesn't really walk the progressive walk, and I just feel like the Greens, one, need representation on the ballot, and two, we need to address these problematic stances and get these issues talked about in the community to influence policy. I mean, like Mike Beilstein, I basically just support green principles like most of you all. In short, people and planet before profits. I think you can trust me to not put my job ahead of my principles, as evidenced by the fact that I'm currently on administrative leave for standing up for my principles. And just to give you a little more background on why that is, I work in university advancement at the University of Oregon. We are the fundraising arm of the university, but last week I called for a boycott to fundraising until they divest. They did not like that. I have some law professors on my working on my behalf to fight this. The U of O Senate supports me. A lot of faculty support me. They're prepared to do a sit-in if they fire me. So I've gotten some support here. I floated this idea of possibly challenging Val Hoyle within our anti-imperialist coalition, and got a warm response there. A lot of folks said that they would support my candidacy. So I just feel like we need to get these discussions in front of the public, and we need representation on the ballot, and I would be honored to represent us there. Thank you.
Thank you, Justin, very much. Next candidate is Kevin Levy. Levy. Are you here, Kevin?
Can you hear me?
There you are. Yes. Go ahead. Thank you very much for coming.
Thank you all for giving me the opportunity to speak. My name is Kevin Levy. I am running for Oregon's House District 46. I've been living in in Portland, Oregon since 2003, and I love it. It is amazing here. A little bit about my background. I was a public educator of science working at NASA. They trusted in me to be their face, giving educational tours, or so you say, to ex-governors and mayors, and even our astronaut Buzz Aldrin. And I would just educate the public on everything science and astronomy related. And I had the opportunity to see firsthand data from our satellites coming in, and like these scientists and engineers are saying, Kevin, like we're recognizing these satellite patterns that, you know, in several years from now, we're going to see some climate catastrophe, some chaos that will be deadly. And that time is now. And because I saw the data firsthand, like I must fight for what I know is real. So when I get into Congress, and I plan on winning, District 46, I am going to be creating some of the most powerful climate legislative policies that will really dramatically affect ways we go. Everything from investing in and embracing green technologies and innovations, and even some types of AI that we can use to combat, for example, satellites that we can use to detect methane gas leaks. And I want to start getting education for our youth in public schools so they could start learning the cause and the preventativeness for climate change, because we are leaving them a mess. We need to change our building codes for all new construction to start insulating better, have electric charging ports, and I can go on about the climate because that's my passion, and I'm going to be a strong climate ally. I also believe that what we also have to recognize is there is a toxic divide between urban and rural Oregon. I am the creator and co-host of Country Dog City Dog, which is a radio show on X-Ray FM, and I am the city dog. I have my country dog who lives out in rural Oregon, and we just finished season 1 with 18 episodes. We're now in the middle of season 2, and we basically talk about all the things that Oregonians want, and we recognize that we want many of the same things in life. It's just how we get there is the challenge. And so I'm going to be into Congress, and into our legislative branch, and I'm going to make things work. I'm going to make Oregon's House work effectively, because we need proper communication and dialogue, and it's so important to recognize that all sides want the same things in life, but we have to have strong dialogue and communication respectfully, and that will get more problems resolved. I'm also a strong advocate of growing Oregon's economy by thinking outside of the box. I've been a small business owner, and I know the little things along the way. When I owned a snowboard, skateboard, and clothing apparel company, and all these little things along the way that I didn't know about that would have helped me out. Like, I'm going to be helping these new mom and pop shops out. And so I have some legislative actions that are in the policies that I've written that I'm going to be submitting. The mom and pop bill that's going to be there to greatly help these local businesses by creating a spiderweb effect of all these contractors, home builders, and shop owners. If they could purchase their inventory and supplies locally with an incentive, then what it's going to do is it's going to create this amazing effect of growing the local mom and pop shops outward. And instead of spending our hard-earned paychecks, bleeding them out of state by shopping at Walmart and Target and IKEA,
Kevin,
I think my time is over, right?
Your time is over. I was a little generous with Mike, and so I haven't been real harsh with everybody else, but it's time.
That 3 minutes was fast, and I thank you all. And I'm going to put
Thank you so
link
much.
the chat window, and I love you, Oregon.
Thank you. Next up, Chris Henry. He's running for Portland City Council District 4. Is Chris here?
I am.
There you are.
Okay. Can everyone see and hear me, or?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, cool. Okay, and 3 minutes on the clock?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Well, I'm Chris Henry. I'm not a Green Party member. I'm seeking your endorsement for for District 4 here. This is in the Portland City District. And I live right here in Tryon Creek State Park currently. And I will probably be going door to door. I think that's probably a winning strategy. Some of my issues are hunger and homelessness. All of, I would say 2023, I was homeless and living in my electric car right over that way. And I did that for a year from November to November. My company closed its doors, Yellow Freight. I was working with them for 20 years, driving doubles and triples. I don't know if people know what triples are. They're 3 trailers connected in series, and the trucks are governed down to 60 miles per hour. So it's about as safe as you can get with triples. And so I did that for 20 years. I used to work on the B-1 bomber way long time ago when I was in my 20s. And I didn't quite care for what the capacity of what the B-1 bomber could do. So I became more of a peace activist after the contract ended and started driving trucks instead. It was a family business. The other family business, my grandfather was Eisenhower's speechwriter, and that is what gears me up to get up in the morning and run for office. I've run for office a few times before. Basically governor twice, US Congress twice, treasurer twice, attorney general, US Congress, Bureau of Labor and Industry. I just finished running for Multnomah County Commission. So I've run for shop steward and held the office of shop steward as a Teamster. And what I'm looking to do is probably bring a $25 an hour minimum wage connected and indexed to a maximum wage in Oregon, and probably in the rurals, it would probably be a $20 an hour wage. I'm not sure. So I want to throw it out there and see what sticks to the wall. I want particulate filters on diesel trucks. Oregon has been a dumping ground for dirty diesel trucks. And I think, did I hit my 3-minute mark?
Yes, you have.
Okay, I see this thing stop.
More than fine too.
Okay. But anyway, I'm asking for your endorsement for this race, and I may run for treasurer later on. I don't know. And then I would seek your nomination if I shifted that race. And that's for green reasons. Because the woman in the race, the Democrat, is she tried to shift the tax burden onto the people from the timber organizations that clear cut here. And if she gets on the state land board, that could be a disaster. And I think Nathalie running for Secretary of State, she'll be on the state land board. That's going to be a big plus because the people she's running against are not friendly with our forests. Thank you for the extended time.
Thank you very much, Chris. Appreciate your comments. Our next candidate is not able to be with us. She's flying from back east, but she did send us a video, which I'm not able to share, but it's in the convention folder. And it's a .mov file. If somebody wants, Devin, Nathalie, somebody can share that.
I will try to get it. We can move to the next candidate. In the future, it would be good to have a link to the agenda.
Okay, we'll move on to James Dashiell while we're waiting for that video to get queued up. He's running for county commissioner for Benton County. Is James here?
Yes, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Very good. Yep,
Excellent.
thank you.
Very good. Hi, I'm James Dashiell, and I'm running for County Commissioner of Benton County. I am new to the area of politics, but over the last 6 years, I've been living abroad with my family. And we've returned to Oregon, which we moved here in 2009. And I decided that I wanted to get involved in politics. And I'd always had a affinity towards the Green Party. So in October, I signed up to be on a Green Party mailing list, and would see a bunch of correspondence, between people talking about issues and whatnots. And a few weeks ago, Mike Beilstein wrote, expressing that there would be an opportunity to put a green on the ballot for the county commissioner seat. So I decided to step forward, and I would like to have y'all's consideration for that. Some of the things that I'd like to focus on if I do get elected are identifying and calling attention to business waste and pollution in Benton County, particularly the expansion of the landfill by Republic Services. There's a lot of concern around this. People living in the proximity to the landfill and how they're going to expand it. What's it going to look like? I'm very interested to see, how they're going to be able to build consensus around that, and as stewards of the environment, what we can do to help make sure that if it is done responsibly, and oppose it if it's not done responsibly. Also, a big issue for me is encouraging community engagement in Benton County to help out with the implementation of environmental, public health, and relief programs. There's certainly a lot of money flowing into Benton County right now for mental health and well-being services. A lot of that is still sort of in the ether. They're trying to get budgetary guidelines set, but there's really no administration yet. And what I'm concerned about is just money sort of just being bled into the community and not having the effect that it should have. So obviously that's something that I'm concerned about. Also, just general environmental awareness, conservation, and preparedness for climate change. We're certainly in Oregon, we're kind of always concerned about fires and water resources. And, as a citizen, I want to be more informed and more active on protecting these type of things. As well, Benton County, as well as Oregon, has a huge responsibility towards the citizens of Oregon who are houseless at this time, and the general housing crisis in Benton County, where costs are tending to spiral out of control. People are having a hard time finding places that fit in with their budget, and I would like to work as hard as I can to provide outreach in any way that I can to alleviate these type of problems. So a little bit about me. I'm a graphic designer. I do a lot of publishing work in the Japanese manga industry. My wife and I are both freelancers. We've been doing that for about 15 years now. So I'm a small businessman, a sole proprietor type person. And
James,
yes.
I'm sorry, we're over time now.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay.
That's okay.
Great.
No problem.
Hey, but either way, I'm just excited to hopefully have the opportunity to represent the Green Party in this race, and I appreciate your time.
Thank you very much. Is somebody able to share the Andrea Kennedy Smith video for us?
Yes, let me do that.
Thank you.
Hopefully it will be large enough, okay?
Yeah.
Hi, my name is Andrea Kennedy Smith, and I use she, her pronouns, and I am running as an independent candidate for Oregon Senate District 12 for Yamhill and Polk counties. I am a paralegal for ODHS Child Welfare and
lived and worked and raised my family in Yamhill County, and I am running for the state senate because the state legislature is not doing good enough for working families. My top 3 priorities as a legislature would be all about cost of living crisis impacting families like mine. That includes access to affordable childcare, fighting out of control rising rents and housing costs, and ensuring we have healthcare providers and home care workers in Oregon where families need to access them. I had the honor as an active SEIU member to be a chief petitioner in Measure 113, ensuring that our state senate has to actually do their job. I'm proud to have played a part in guaranteeing accountability for state senators who walk off the job while working Oregonians can't afford food for their families. And I'm running for the Senate to make sure that our state policies are focused on those families. I've stood up for working people as an active SEIU member, including as a contract specialist and as an elected union leader. I am very proud to have created materials to train stewards and developing a stewards academy so we can more effectively stand up for our union siblings. So we can learn how to enforce our collective bargaining agreement, learn how to work collaboratively with management and human resources, and assist employees when they are being mistreated in the workplace. I would be honored to earn SEIU's endorsement because I have seen firsthand how we fight for the kind of working people I see struggling in my community. SEIU members, from home care workers to healthcare professionals, are providing the critical services families need across Oregon. And I want to be the kind of candidate that is fighting for them and the people they serve. In reviewing the SEIU policy book, I would like to focus on 3 policy areas I have spent years fighting for alongside my fellow SEIU members. First is workplace safety. Within SEIU members, we have home care workers struggling with physically dangerous work and unsafe work environments, and employees in state agencies, not to mention healthcare providers, are subject to unsafe work environments and unmanageable workloads. Second is a focus on our state budget. I start from a place of thinking that it's well past the time for the wealthiest Oregonians and corporations to pay their fair share in taxes. The number one solution to our unacceptable underinvestment in critical state services, not to mention our schools, is more revenue from those who are most able to pay. But beyond that, I've seen firsthand how the legislature's budget process ignores the input of state workers on the front lines of Oregon's challenges, and I'm tired of it. Last but not least, public employees' compensation and PERS. We have too many public employees who are struggling to make ends meet in Oregon. They deserve a living wage and to be able to provide for their families in the communities that they serve. If we want to retain the dedicated professionals that we have and attract the best possible talent, we need to pay accordingly. I have demonstrated my commitment to workers and social justice over the last 17 years. I understand labor issues and feel confident I have the passion to champion labor priorities if elected. Thank you so much for your time. I am honored to have the opportunity to earn your endorsement.
I understand that the audio was a little bit difficult. What we will do with the video from the convention is we'll splice the actual video in that section.
Okay, ma'am.
For that.
that will help. We also have another Andrea up next. Andy Townsend, U.S. House of Representatives, Oregon District 5. Is she here today?
I saw her earlier.
Okay.
I'm here.
There you go. Thank
Okay.
you. Thank you so much for being here.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. Yeah, my name is Andrea Thornton Townsend. I go by Andy. I use she, them pronouns. I live in outer Southeast Portland, in the Johnson Creek watershed. And I'm running for Congress District 5. The incumbent is Lori Chavez Dermer, Republican. I'm very unhappy about the fact that we have this situation where we have a Republican representing us. It doesn't make any sense. I get postcards from her talking about how she cares about affordable housing and women's rights, and I don't believe any of it. A little bit about myself. I grew up in Southeast Portland. I have a long history in the social justice movement. My sort of origin story is I was the founder of the Franklin High School Student Union. And in 1999, we did a lot of organizing at our school and around Portland Public Schools procurement process and the use of purchasing gowns that were made in sweatshops. And we organized around that issue and ended up bringing 100 youth and young adults to the Seattle WTO protests. It was an amazing experience seeing the environmental movement, the labor movement, the social justice movement come together, organized to shut down a city. I think it's hard to imagine now, like as we're witnessing the incredible repression that's happening against students across the country, but that's the continuation of these movements, and I'm really proud to have been a part of it. So running for Congress is sort of an experiment to see what it's like to run for office. I currently work for the state of Oregon and for the city of Portland. I'm a homeless services specialist for Oregon Housing and Community Services, and I'm a member of SEIU and was recently elected as a bargaining rep for my sublocal. I've been working there for 2 years, but I started out as a temp, and I worked as a temp for 14 months, which is, you exhaust your time that you can be a temp employee, and then you can't work there anymore. And I spent 4 months trying to get a permanent position, was ultimately successful. And I'm really grateful to have this somewhat stable position as a state employee. And I'm also highly aware of this paradox that exists for people who are doing this really important work, and like people who are administering unemployment benefits or food stamps, who are on food stamps themselves, people who are living in affordable housing and administering the compliance for those situations. I can't, oh, my time is up. Wow. Well, anyway, thanks for listening to me, and I am really honored to hear from everybody, and it's amazing when people participate to see what we can do together. So keep up the good work.
Andrew, I have a question. Are you a Green Party member?
Yeah, I am a Green Party member. I think I've been a Green Party member for many years. I switched to the Democrats so I could vote for Bernie, but that was a mistake. I regret it. I mean, I love Bernie Sanders, but yeah, I haven't really been an active member of the party, but I'm interested in how we can build a really powerful organization that can actually, that can enact the values that we support. And I'm interested in how we can create organizations that demonstrate the values that we want to live. So
the reason I'm asking is that there's a young person, an independent young person who is seeking our nomination, and they contacted us way back. His name is Andy Aswan. He has his website up.
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah.
And he's a very nice guy. I think he's very inexperienced. And I'm wondering whether outreaching to Andy and working together might be better.
Yeah, maybe.
Trying to, I think that within the party, we need to develop leadership and bring people along. And it's only by working together as teams that we can share information and pass information along.
That makes sense to me.
So I just wanted to mention, he submitted his candidacy. He's not here today. But he seems to be heart on the right place, really committed. He's in band. Just